Now, at 19 minutes past 5, let's talk about this, because one of the country's youngest ever councillors, Liverpool's Jake Morrison, has quit the Labour Party. He was suspended earlier this month following a row with his local MP in Wavertree, Luciana Berger, and he now plans to take her on in the next election as an independent. Jake Morrison joins me in the studio now. Good evening to you, Jake Morrison. Thanks for coming in. Is this political suicide?
Oh, of course, hope not. I fully intend to put myself forward for election and make sure that the people of Liverpool get the decision about whether I carry on serving the people of Wavertree, maybe now in a bigger role, but that's their decision in 2015.
Why did you take this decision?
Well, there's been two issues that I've had over recent weeks within the Labour Party. First of all, obviously covered by your station, I had a very high-profile dispute with Luciana Berger, the local MP for Liverpool Wavertree, where she complained about me to the Mayor of Liverpool. It hasn't been the first complaint, but it's the first complaint that I put out into the public eye, where she said I've got no respect, that I'm not a team player, and that she had concerns about me handling two local issues about people coming to my surgery. So I was obviously really unhappy with these complaints, and I emailed Ed Miliband. 2 days later I'm suspended. So I decided then I wanted to obviously fight and stay within the Labour Party, and then this weekend we've got Ed Miliband talking about his policies, which I see are no different to what the coalition are offering at the moment, and people need an alternative, and I want to be that alternative, so that's why I've decided to stand to be the independent candidate for Liverpool Wavertree.
So so there's a national, both national and local level. You feel you've fallen out with the Labour Party. If the local spat hadn't have happened, would you have taken a stand based on the National Party's line on austerity, which, just to make that clear to people if they haven't heard, that Ed Miliband and Ed Balls have basically said they will stick to the coalition's spending plans for the first. Yeah. Okay, so if it was just that in isolation, would that be enough?
Well, it would, yes, because I can't. There's two things here. Obviously, again, if the party would have brought me back from this spat that I've had with Luciana, I would have had to have smiled, went knocking on doors, pretending that we're best friends, and that would have been great, yeah. And then I would have also at the same time had to have campaigned in support of Labour's policies, which are the same as the coalition's, and I cannot do that. I'm not a hypocrite.
Well, what will your policy be on deficit reduction then? Listen, you're not in favour of what Ed Balls is doing, so
absolutely, because I think we should be investing more in this country. If we collected more of the tax that is owed by these multi-billion-pound companies, we could pay for things like the bedroom tax over and over and over again. Well, as an independent MP, I am not going to be putting forward mass amounts of legislation and bills, for the next 5 years. I will be voting on what the next government puts forward. I will be voting on whether that is right for the people of Liverpool Wavertree or whether that's wrong for the people of Liverpool Wavertree, not whether the political party I belong to tell me to vote or not.
But do you accept that deficit reduction is something that the country has to do for its own economic soundness?
It does, but as I said, if we invested in the country a lot more, then maybe we wouldn't have as many problems as we have now. This is conservative ideology. It's about making sure that working class people are turning in against each other. I wrote a blog piece about this on the weekend. The Tories are making people look out their curtains, twitch the curtains to see what the neighbours are doing in spite, because they are suffering, so they think everybody else should suffer at the same time. Okay. I disagree with that, and I think the Conservatives have argued this over years, and Labour are now doing the same.
You posted a lot of your disagreement with Luciana Berger. It went public on Facebook. Was that a wise decision? Were you advised about that? Or is it something you did of your own volition? And do you think, in retrospect, in hindsight, it was the right thing to do?
Absolutely, it's the right thing to do. If the Labour Party had nothing to hide, then they shouldn't be so concerned. A lot of people have questioned me more on whether it was right to put it on Facebook or Twitter, or whether it was right that I should feel bullied to come out of the Labour Party. I'm a working class lad from Liverpool. I would argue Luciana is a privately educated MP, parachuted in from London. I feel pushed out, so I decided to retaliate by putting this on Facebook. The issue is not whether I put it on Facebook or whether I give it to the Echo or Radio Merseyside. The issue is, this is how the Labour Party have treated me. Well, I think people need an alternative. They need hope, and I want to be that person.
It's interesting. You have brought up the issue of class, maybe north-south divide.
Yes.
Is that something that you're going to play big on in the election campaign? Because some people, are you sure that will strike a chord with people? This idea that Luciana Berger is a southerner who's been parachuted here into the northwest. Why does that matter?
We've had the argument now about whether I am in the Labour Party or not, and I'm not. I've resigned this morning. The argument I will now be having out on the doorstep, out speaking to people in Liverpool Wavertree, is that I will be a better alternative. I will be a better MP,
because she's
I will fight for people better than they are at the moment.
Because she's from the south?
No, I've had my arguments about why I've left the Labour Party. That's done. Now, I think people of Liverpool Wavertree deserve a better Member of Parliament who will stick up for them rather than just go along with what the three main parties are now saying in terms of their policies.
But you did just mention that yourself.
I did.
So you are going to... Will you mention this in your election campaign?
The fact that the election campaign is not going to be so concerned about whether I am not in the Labour Party anymore, because that was a personal dispute, obviously in the public eye. Now I am concerned about changing people's lives for the better, and that is through policies rather than through me being unhappy with Luciana for whatever reason.
So you can give me that assurance then that in the election campaign you won't mention the fact that Luciana from the South has been
I'm sure Radio Merseyside will hopefully follow my campaign very closely, but I haven't got money to be thrown around with loads of leaflets to spend most of my time arguing against personal candidates.
Okay. And so you hope to unseat her as constituency MP?
Yeah, I think, there's no point me sitting here and just being that person who says, oh, do you know what, just vote for me and give it a go. I obviously need to be positive that I can win this election so that people believe in me, that I can represent them in 2015. So absolutely, I'm fighting to win.
Jake Morrison, thanks for coming in and talking to us. That's Jake Morrison. Now, an independent prospective MP.